Welcome lazy gamers and welcome back to ARA History Untold. Hope you are having fun playing this game. I absolutely am, and I'm learning new stuff every so often. I want to share some of my learned experience with ARA and hope you find this useful. But first, a quick note of where I stand with this game. As yet, I have not gone past Act 1 on any deity game or Emperor game I have played. Duke has been my go-to difficulty. Whether I make it past Act 1 is pretty much a coin flip. Beyond Act 1, the game gets easier, but I have played very few games to completion. One of these days, I will have an exciting game that I managed to record and showcase all the way to victory. So in the middle of making this video, patch 1.3 dropped. Stay to the end of this for a quick summary and thoughts on the new patch. So let's cover some stuff here. If you find this useful, please leave a like, share this with friends, subscribe for more content like this, and if you have gameplay quirks and features to share, please do leave a comment. First, what do I do turn 1? So turn 1, you already have a settled city. Take a look at your land, your surrounding regions. As of patch 1.3, which is the latest patch as of this video, you can't tell how many zones are in the surrounding regions, but you can see the yields. Gives you an idea of which regions to prioritize when it comes time to claim. Most often I will pick high food, resource-rich regions before I pick the others. Pay attention to how many zones are in the region. Take this example here and understand the pros and cons. One is a resourceless 5-zone region with 4 food, and the other has grain but is only 3 food. Which do you pick? I would almost always pick the one with the grain and plan a cluster of farms, but alternately you can choose the 4 food tile, plan for industry there, and at your next growth phase, plan farms in the grain zone. There is an opportunity cost to weigh, and I hope whichever choice you make pans out. Look around where you can see predators that need at least 2 hunts to clear. The reason is, 2 hunt predators give you feasts. You can get one with your scout sub turn 5. Why turn 5? It's at least that many turns before you can craft your feast in your great hearth. Getting anything earlier is better, and the opportunity cost should be considered. And if there are no 2 hunt animals near you, max out the first feast in the great hearth. For builds, I almost always start spearman first. On lower difficulties, I often go scout first. Your plan should be to get a settler ASAP, but don't lose out on things like a dwelling, especially if you found a cache of candles and wine. By now, you should also have an idea of what your first couple of research decks are. Somewhere in there, I'm also thinking about building a workshop. So my build order has consistently been Scout, but only on lower difficulties, Spearman first, then followed by either a dwelling, settler, or a workshop. Know that a dwelling with a basket adds production to your city. So workshop first is very attractive. Often I make a couple of lithic tools before I queue up baskets. Note that there is an event in the game where you get 5 lithic tools and 5 baskets for free. Beyond that, you are planning a path around your known visible empire to gather resources and equipment stashes. What military do I need? At least 1 spearman to start. Get it as soon as possible and use it to hunt predators. How early you should get archery is directly proportional to how high your difficulty level is. Once you have the tech, plan to have at least 1 wedge, possibly more. Ever since unit reform is possible, where you can undeploy a single unit back to your reserves, it is definitely easier to manage forces. Easier than before, but not quite easy still. Having some units in reserves is always good if you can manage it, but it's hard to do on higher difficulties. What do I need to focus on in the early and middle turns in Act 1? Hopefully, 10-15 turns in, you see a significant part of the land around you and maybe even the borders of a neighbor. First and foremost, identify your city settle options. You can see the yields for regions, but because you can't see the number of zones in the region, you are forced to wait to build a settler until you can see the zone counts. When you click on the settle icon, the map will give you an overview of your options, and the game will suggest suitable sites. I like plan potential settles much before, so I identify a general area to put down a settlement. Would love to see an update in the future that gives us the zone counts very early without having a settler. The way cities develop, growth is key. You have to grow to claim more land, more experts, more industry and crafting. But growth depends on three things: food, housing, and health. The absolute food count is paramount. Housing is a hard limit on your growth, and health is, for lack of a better way to explain, a multiplier for your growth. The early amenities in your empire are useful to achieve this. Feasts, grain stores, and cured meats are probably the best 1, 2, 3 amenities there are, but I often slot in baskets as second or third. Plan your industries. The resources in your land make it easier to set up certain industries. For example, grain nearby leads to granaries and grain storage, which eventually lends to pottery and ceramics. Furs will lend to tanneries. Wine lends to fermentation pits, and so on. You can build whatever industry you want, but having supplies will make it easier and faster to get the stuff made when you need it. How many workshops do I need to build? Here's a question I've struggled with from day one. Short answer: as many as you can build. In the early game, you will need at least 2, making a combination of lithic tools, baskets, and ropes, and possibly wheels. Plows are interesting. I almost never prioritize them, but if you have horses or cattle in your empire and tons of farms to place, definitely worth it to go for plows. As the game progresses, the number of workshops you need will have to be paced by the amenities, consumables, and accelerators you need for your empire. I often end up with a dedicated workshop for one thing, and often have other workshops share the production demands as necessary. If it's wheels, ropes, and baskets early, they transition to metal tools, metal pots, and gears soon enough. Why weavers and their upgrades are special? In my opinion, weavers are the best industry stack. Not so much due to the amenities they give, which are actually quite good, but for the fact that you can slot paragons to make masterpieces. On Duke difficulty and above, masterpieces are an integral part of your prestige strategy. How to manage tribes I encounter. My personal preference is to friend as many as possible. When the bar is full, assuming the choices you made have raised favor, they will join your empire, often with a few gifts. They give a population bump to your nearest city, often allowing you to claim more land faster. But that favor has a cost. It's often either food, gold, lumber, materials, which if you have it is totally an easy choice to make. But sometimes it's a hit to your production or security, or worse, you have to give them a spearman or a chariot or something you need. Weigh the opportunity cost here. However, if they are hostile, which is 1 bar removed from being at war, know that denying them will mean their units are going to actively go after you. I try to avoid that situation, but if I can't, I focus on making a military immediately to counter it. And what about amenities? Now this is going to be a whole different video in the future, but the short answer is, try your hardest to manage an amenity supply to never have an empty amenity slot. There are too many specifics to mention here, and I'm not even sure I understand it all yet, but in my games, I lean into overproduction. Maybe 2 ceramic shops would be enough for my empire, but I often double that number in practice. I hope you will find these points useful in your games. Stay on and let's go over patch 1.3. So patch 1.3 is dubbed as the diplomacy update, and it looks like we have a couple of new diplomacy features. We can bribe other players, we can demand tribute from them, we can send them military aid. Yeah, we get advisor insights, we get diplomatic history, and aggressive negotiations. Unlock technologies in Act 3. Besides that, there are groups of things here under balance changes, game mechanics, buildings and infrastructure. I read through these and yeah, most of them just feel like they are bug fixes. I mean, some of them do affect balance, but it's essentially these do feel like they are actually bug fixes or tweaks that will help the game. Now, these are interesting. Actually, this is quite good. A warning notification now appears when attempting to claim a region already being claimed. This will actually be very good because I know that I've had games where I'm not sure if because I wasn't warned, I ended up losing a claim. It'll help to have a notification that tells us that something is already being claimed. This one is interesting. Difficulty level no longer alters city base quality of life stats. This one is worth checking out. I'm going to quickly spin up a game. So if we do Emperor, I think the base quality of life stats are... I know that they are going to be lower than on the lower difficulties, but let's just actually see what those values are. Oh, so they are pegged at 30 pretty much. And what is it at the other difficulties? At King, oh, it'll be 40 maybe? I'm going to guess that it will be 40. Grand Duke 50 and Duke 60, but let's just actually see if the steps are in 10s or in 5s. It's 40. So Grand Duke is pegged at 50. I think this would be a good baseline to play at pretty much every game. And I'm going to guess that Duke is going to be 60, I guess. Duke and Grand Duke were both pegged at 50. If Duke and Grand Duke both are pegged at 50, it would help to know how Grand Duke is harder than Duke. There's got to be some other mechanics in play. Feels like these are fixes to existing issues. They're all balance fixes in my mind, if not outright bugs. The UI changes are interesting. We can rename regions now. I mean, I'm sure it's important to many people. I don't really care too much about renaming things. I leave them be. This is interesting. Added options for act culling. None, AI only, and all. Okay, let's take a look and see if we know where would this be. Advanced settings, starting era, ancient history, act 1, game pacing standard, act culling. Alright, right there. None, AI only, or normal. Okay, normal means we get the boot. On higher difficulties, this would make sense to play as with none, just so that you can try to sim through Act 1 and maybe try to get your leapfrog somewhere in Act 2 or maybe even Act 3. Actually, I welcome this. I very much welcome this change here. It makes the game at least you would want to play. You might have a half decent game, but because you get culled, you do not get to go to Act 2. I think having the option and trying out something hard and impossible, I think it's a good choice. I think it's going to make me more likely to try some Emperor games that even if I don't survive, I still manage to try and get through the end of Act 3 and see if I can win. Interesting. Improvements can be filtered on the national economy screen using tags. Okay, I'll have to check that out in the game. Viscount is no longer listed as default. I think Prince is now the default. Yes. Oh, there was one problem that I knew that I'd seen before. I want to see if that's still in the game. So whenever I choose to customize my nations, I already see a pre-populated list of AI civs. And no matter what I do, I mean, I think these need to be random by default, all of them. I think getting a civ assigned there is a problem because, okay, let's see. I go here and I say reset settings, and then I go back to customize nations and I see a new list that is populated, right? Which is annoying, but if I go back here, I go back and I change my leader, I come back here, I customize that, and I see the same list. So I go back, let's see, let's pick some other leader here. We can change the difficulty and hit customize. Again, we see the same leader list. So this kind of stays locked and pegged. I think anytime we are going to the screen to customize, I think the default needs to be random, just straight up random. And I think that change, it's important enough, because what happens is when you set up a new game, you may click on that, and the moment you click on it, you have locked in the opponents you're going to play against, and that is not how I want to play. It's information that is given to me. Yeah, I think the fix here is these defaults need to be random. All right, let's see what else is in the list. Pause has been renamed to timeout, and suspend is renamed to pause. Okay, I'm not sure where I have encountered this. Oh, this is good. Updated the rope's third accelerator to apply a meaningful production bonus. That was actually an annoying thing. I mean, we never really ended up using it in the games, but Good to see that it is fixed. Unlocking mints is now required through coinage before unlocking coins. Oh, sweet. Yeah, this was kind of an oversight. Tooltip for fermenting accurately describes its food benefits. I don't know. I mean, some of these things I never even noticed. Yeah, I'll post the link. I mean, I'm sure if you want to find it, just search for ARA. Yeah, search for ARA patch 1.3 notes and you'll see them. I'm looking at the one on Steam. But yeah, you'll find them all over the place. I think maybe after like a couple of playthroughs, I'll have a better idea of what all these patch changes mean. And maybe I'll probably have better informed comments on what to make of it all. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to try out the diplomacy stuff. I'm most interested to try out the bribe feature, see if we can get two neighbors to go at war. I hope you found this useful and continue to have fun with ARA History Untold. Thank you for watching and definitely tune into the next one.